I remember it. I remember that day, that evening. I think it was evening, maybe. I don't. Time kind of disappears in this memory. I was 4 years old, and my brother and I was 4, my brother was 2.5, and we went to visit my mother in the hospital. I remember that they usually did not let children into the hospital, certainly not during visiting hours, when it wasn't visiting hours, but they let me and my brother in because they did not expect my mother to survive the night. She was very sick, at death's door. They didn't know why. They didn't know what was wrong with her. And I remember going in the theater of my mind, I just remember going to the hospital, bringing her a rose from my father's garden. He had a rose garden. We went into the room and had the rose. And at that point, the movie kind of cuts out. And I see it's almost like throwing, and I don't think I literally did this, but in this movie, in my mind, I throw the rose into this dark room and I just watch it sail through the darkness. And the next thing I know in this memory is Mom survives. They pumped her full of antibiotics. They gave her whatever they could imagine to give her, and something worked. And she lived. And I drew the conclusion that day that I had saved her, that my visit and my throwing of the rose worked magic, worked a miracle, and saved her. And I had saved my mother. And I was 4. My mother went on to live another 26 years until I was 30. And she was ill. And we had our ups and downs through that time. And we became very close. And I was her caregiver, and emotional caregiver, physical caregiver, the intimate taking care of someone who's sick. And I lived with loving her so deeply and also feeling horribly trapped, because how to leave her to say someone else should be doing this. There was no one else to do it. And that's how I felt. And I chose to stay and take care of her. And so those two feelings became conflated. The love and the feeling suffocated. The love and the being trapped in the responsibility of that love. And I also had set a very high standard for myself because I had saved her life. So I had to keep doing that. And in my mind, every day was saving her life and saving her life. And every interaction and every decision to give to her was saving her life. It became just my automatic program. And that was the way it was until she died when I was 30 years old. And one way I survived during those 30 years of putting my own life on hold and my own needs on hold and my own friendships and relationships on hold, because she was it. One thing that kept me going was kind of a contract that I had written with God. It was like, all right, God, I'm doing the right thing here. I'm with Mom, but you owe me. You owe me. And one day there's going to be payoff day. Those chips are going to get cashed in, and I'm going to have this nirvana life, the perfect guy, the perfect kids, the whole thing. I will have earned all that. And that's the deal. And that kept me going, that I will be rewarded for this. And Mom died. It was awful. She was my whole support system. So here in death, when I needed her most, was when I didn't have her. And it was lousy. And I had to heal and put the pieces together and reinvent myself, no longer defined as Serena's daughter, which was my whole identity, and had to create myself. And I was blessed. I dated like a maniac, and I met my husband, and under the wire, in terms of age, we had our children, and it was amazing. We had our first son, Eric, and he was an absolute delight. I was like, okay, number 2, Eric needs a sibling, and miscarriage along the way, and then Ethan, second child. And when Ethan, though, we noticed pretty quickly, he doesn't make eye contact, or he's silent, no babbling. Interesting tones he's making. He doesn't just cry. His cry is different. And we started noticing things, and it didn't take long to realize this child was different. And before he was 2 years old, probably closer to, 12 months, 18 months, he was diagnosed with autism. And I was enraged. I was enraged and panicked because, wait a second, God, this was not the deal. You and I had a deal. I had written it. I had written the contract myself, but it seems self-evident to me. This is the deal. I pay my dues and I get my payback. And I get my payoff. Payback is retribution. But that was part of it. I thought, what did I do to deserve this? Did I complain too much? Did I whine too much? Now, I know I lied a lot. I remember at one point my mother said to me, Heidi, I know I'm a burden on you. I know, I'm so sorry, I'm a burden on you. And I lied, and I kept lying because, no, Mom, you're not a burden. I love you. It's not a burden. And I was lying through my teeth because it was a burden. And I couldn't talk to her about that, or I felt I couldn't. Maybe I could have, but I didn't. And so here it's my turn, and damn it, God must be really angry with me for the lying. It scared me. God is angry with me? I'm really screwed. Like, oh my God. And I lost sight of all the other blessing. I lost sight of, hey, I met a great guy. Hey, I have this amazing first child, Eric. And hey, I have this amazing little boy who's now different, but is an amazing little boy. I lost sight of all that blessing. And I went into fear and panic, and God is angry with me. And part of the grief is that the script becomes different, because when you are expecting a baby, you're writing another script. I wrote another script. I wrote the script of the relationship I'm going to have with my child, and we're going to do this, and we're going to go here, and we're going to do fun stuff, and he's going to love me and I'm going to love him. And one day, he's going to go to school, he's going to go to college, he's going to meet a nice girl one day, and I'll be a grandmother, and he's going to be independent and amazing, and, blah, 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 the whole story. And with Eric, life was playing out like that. And then with Ethan, to get a diagnosis of autism, that's not the script. Did I really have to spell it out to God? God, when we made that deal that, I take care of Mom and then I get my dreams met, did I have to spell it out for you that I meant healthy children, perfect, normal children? Apparently I did. And then I was like, okay, it's my fault. I didn't spell it out in the contract what the deliverable was. There was huge grief around the realization that the dream of this perfect child was not going to happen. The dream that I was going to have. And I went into this terrible grief, and I didn't even know at the time what was happening. I thought I was just angry. I now know that I actually had entered into the Elizabeth Kubler-Ross stages of grieving, because while there had not been, thank goodness, a physical death, there had been a huge loss. The dream I had of Ethan, for Ethan, disappeared and was now dead and needed to be reinvented and recreated. And so I was so angry, and I was so sad, and was so bargaining with God, and went through those phases. What's really important, and I did not know I had entered a grieving cycle. It's really important, and I want to share this, and I do share this with the moms I work with, is to just make them aware that they've been dealt a blow. And of course, they're going to respond to that blow, and their mind is going to respond to that blow as surely as if it were a physical blow. But if you had gotten hit in the head with a flying baseball, you wouldn't question, why does this hurt so much? Or why is it hard to think? Or do I have a concussion? Or why is there a bruise? You wouldn't question any of that with a physical blow or wound. You do question that when it's a psychic, emotional wound. And it's really important to know, of course, you're entering into this cycle. This is your amazing mind's way of protecting you. It's your mind's way of beginning to heal. Just as with a physical wound, it has to bleed. It has to be cleaned out. It has to be stitched up. You're in the emergency room. You have to do the tough, hard stuff, and it's not fun. And you expect it to hurt. And then over time, it begins to heal and it gets a scab and it turns all kinds of ugly colors, but then it becomes a scar and it doesn't hurt so much when you touch it. All of that analogy of the physical healing is what the stages of grieving are for your mind. You have to start to develop a scab and it has to heal, and it's not linear. Some days it hurts like hell. You thought you were finished with that stage and you're back. And the fact is, it's cyclical, but it's not. Don't worry about that. That's really important to know, to forgive yourself in this process, to be loving and kind. You would be loving and kind to yourself if you had that wound or you broke your leg. You wouldn't beat yourself up because it hurt or that you needed to rest or needed help. So the same thing with the stages of grieving. It's important to be aware that you're going through these stages. They're not going to feel good, but don't judge them. Accept them for what they are. And it is in then the moving toward acceptance, which is the final stage in this healing process. It's at acceptance that you have your scar. It doesn't mean that the incident never happened or that you're not continuing to live with it, but it means that life is now proceeding as it must, transformed in a new way, on a new path. What this means for you, you have an opportunity to give to yourself the love and compassion that you so quickly and easily give to your child. Give that to yourself. Recognize the process that you're in and give yourself what you need when you need it in love. Don't judge the process. It is what it is. And it is moving through this, and you will move through it. And there's the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're not alone in this. And when you move through this, you will come out stronger and ready to do the work you need to do to move forward. That is the gift of this process. It is a transformative process. You enter one way and you exit another.